Welcome back, everyone. Let's see how you can quickly get started with Cortex with a small demo. So let me show you how this works. Okay, so let's start with a quick start. So to install Cortex, you can just follow these instructions in the README, but I have already done it. So I also have my .env in here, which you can just follow these instructions to read. Okay, so now I have to start my vector DB, which is ChromaDB in this case that we are using. So I just quickly started on port 8003. This is configurable under the constants file inside Cortex repo. Okay, so let's quickly start with an example, I think. So what I'll be showing you is kind of the different features that we have under Cortex right now. So put Cortex up directly. So now we will initialize the class for Cortex, which we are calling agent memory system in here. And okay, so let's first of all add our first memory node, which is something like, let's say user prefers TypeScript over JavaScript on your projects. And now this has a timestamp attached with it because every single memory node, like Cortex is expecting that you're attaching a time. It's not necessary, but it's a good practice and it should be done. So yeah, let's say it was added an hour back. Now let's add another memory node. So let's say this is the node which is not really related, but it's different. And let's say it was added yesterday. So 1 day minus. Okay. Now let's add one more node where it says like identified to migrate from REST to GraphQL. And now this is basically timed at 7 days earlier, so last week's memory. Okay, now we will add something weird also into it, which is a specific memory from January 2024. Let's say this is all just for example, so it kind of says like human planning. Alright, so in the background you could see that as I was adding the nodes, lots of operations were running internally and things were updating on the DB side. Now let's start with some search on Cortex side. So let's say you have all of these memory nodes like added differently inside your DB. Now you want to search for specific things based on certain criteria. So first of all, what I show you is like the pure semantic search. So let's say you want to look for programming preferences, anything related to it. And limit means that how many memory chunks you want to retrieve. This is sort of your basic vector DB terminology. And LTM here is that only check long-term memory and not short-term memory, because short-term memory says the window. All right. So just to show, it has a lot of these different things within it. So if I had to print, you can see that it retrieves that user prefers TypeScript over JavaScript for new projects, and it gives you a lot of different things, and all of these are metadata attached with the memory node that got auto-created when we added that particular node into the memory. So let's try something interesting, something different now at Cortex Office. So let's start with temporal aware search. So here we are kind of going into these sort of queries where you're saying that, hey, what did we discuss yesterday? So since it's sort of a time-based query, you can see here that we can actually pass a temporal weight. So what this means is it will give 70% importance to time itself. I mean, how recent the memories are itself, and only 30% importance to how semantically similar the memories are. So it sort of forms a composite score internally and then uses that to rank the memories so that it can fetch things out for you better. So first to see it in action. All right, I'll keep the results for later because I'll show you a few more examples and then we can just see all of the results together. Okay, so let's also look at date winter search. So sometimes you would have a use case where you just want to look within, let's say, within last week. So that's what this example shows. So let's just run this also, and specifically sometimes you also have like date ranges. So let's say you have a date range from 2024 January to today. So or let's say 2024 January to 24 February. So anything in between you should be able to retrieve and only look within this range and nothing outside that. So even that is doable through Cortex. So here you can see that as passed 2024-01. It's preferable if we pass a dictionary with start and end time ranges where all of like the both time ranges are in RFC 3239 format, which is the standard format. So I'll just run this. All right, this is just the helper function just to format things nicely. Okay, so now let's see at all of the results together. All right, so first of all was nothing interesting. If you remember from here that, so we were just looking for programming preferences, and it was nothing interesting. It was just pure semantic search, what it was doing internally, obviously based on the relationships that it has formed. So it uses them to improve the retrieval also. So based on that, it kind of gave you these results, which are kind of true. So this is the first memory that it found to be most relevant, which is actually true based on what are the programming preferences it's looking for. And these two are the top second and third closest matching memories. Now, for this particular query, which was a temporal-based query, temporal recency-based query, so you remember we added like 0.7 as the temporal weighting here. So specifically, it chose the discussed API rate limiting strategies using Redis because that's what we were targeting towards. So if you remember, these are the different nodes we have added. And in this case, this only matches this criteria the most because it was yesterday's memory, and this also kind of answers what we discussed yesterday. Now, it didn't give you this because this was last week's memory. And since even though semantically it matches more with this, but since we added recency bias, that's why this got the first rank compared to this one. And you can see what's the full state of it. So it got the second rank, and the score is also less. And for the third one, team decisions, where this was just the query, and we were trying to look for all memories from last week. So using a date range like this, and this gives us directly this specific thing that it should have given, which is Keen decided to migrate from REST to GraphQL, and this was specifically last week's memory and not yesterday's memory or a specific date's memory. And similarly, where we added a particular date range specifically, which was of 2024 January, it retrieved correctly the memory for that date, which was given planning, focus on performance optimization. So this is a very simple, basic showcase of like what all sort of parameters Cortex supports right now. So that's all for now. See you around soon.